Hi there. We have Jace Kim. He is an artist in Vancouver, and he is going to be discussing his art series for this exhibition that we're having right now called Interconnections in a New World. All right, Jace.
Hi everyone. My name is Jace Kim. I'm originally from Korea. I've been living as a primarily oil and acrylic painter in Vancouver. Yeah, I'm ambidextrous. I've been painting with both hands. I've been working with Kevan for a long time. Worked with the various art events, and I competed in a battle of the brushes a lot of times and won a lot too. Yeah, so that's about it. Is there anything else? That's sort of a brief introduction of myself. Yeah.
That's good. Maybe can you talk about the painting that you painted for Interconnections?
Yes, the painting I did for the show was actually something to do with this current situation. What did I title it, Kevin? Do you remember? I forgot the title sometimes. Yeah.
I'm actually going to be having the painting up, so it's going to be posted so everyone can see it.
Yeah. Let me actually. Yeah, I'll jump onto my. Yeah. So Unseen Embraces. That's the title of it. And then that was quite coincidental because when I was working on the piece, Kevan gave me a call and he was like, "Oh, Jace, do you want to do something to do with the situation we're having, like COVID?" And then like, "Oh yeah, I was actually making this piece that's like related to that." So yeah, so I can briefly talk about how I initiate with this painting was I had this feeling that we should love over fear, like just every moment. I think that's a strong attitude that we should, because we're inevitably weak and vulnerable since this COVID situation hit. Like I had this idea that, oh my God, like I'm so powerless against this nature. And then why are we so obsessed to this like materialistic need? And like in terms of, just casually saying making money, living realistically. And then I have been living as an artist, as in how I wanted to always liberate myself from it. I wanted to truly free from the idea. And what it actually worked out to me was I wanted to kind of love everything over any negative, pessimistic view on this world, and like even my perspective to my even lifestyle, so on. And then the painting itself is a reflection of course, who I am and the representation of it. And people ask me whether that person on the painting is me, but it can be me or it can be you, it can be anyone, right? It kind of looks like me in a way. Yeah, but you can see a lot of arms approaching from the behind, kind of like hugging each other. That was sort of the idea. Like I want it's not like hugging two people hugging. It was almost like the whole idea of embracement. Like when you think about embracing, you kind of have to like hug that negativity, even like hug that fear, hug anything that you could perceive as some sort of a pessimistic idea that you should always embrace to overcome. That was the whole idea. And then of course there is a two different color on the background, which juxtaposed with my ambidextrity. And also when I paint that painting, I paint with both ends. And then just briefly talking about my concept of it is that also we're always facing this conflict anyways, and then we should be more susceptible to this nature because it's the whole idea of yin and yang, right? Like everything has to be balanced. So it would kind of work. I actually kind of became to acknowledge the value of it, and then the painting is actually the sort of self-reflection and a representation of what happened to me last year. Yeah.
What happened to you last year?
Oh, just yeah, because of the COVID situation. I think that kind of leads into the another question you were expected to ask me, right, Kevin? You were you were supposed to ask. I kind of know what the question you're going to ask. So it was what happened to me during the COVID situation, right? So
Yeah.
if I have to specify what happened to me was, of course, can I just jump into that question? I guess then that's
Sure.
yeah, that's what you were trying to, kind of ask me.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the
last
questions.
year when COVID hit, of course, I mean, as Kevan know, I teach a lot of students too, and then I had to kind of like stop teaching, and also all of the live painting event got canceled. That was supposed to, yeah, even me and Kevan had to go work with this like other corporation, and then even I was supposed to go to Korea doing this live event that I felt fortunate enough to be part of. But it was, of course, that it caused me some sort of a sadness, but then at the same time I wanted to just embrace that, because I strongly believe in the positive energy, that I didn't want to take anything so negatively, and then I don't want to put myself so down due to that. So I was just like, I felt rather okay. This happened. I'm not going to be like, just I'm somehow find a way to embrace everything, and I'll just spend more time painting, spend more time exercise my artistic practices. Just like, I mean, one of the actually the gallery that I did with Kevan before was something to do with the beginner's mind. You remember, Kevan? Like we had this
Yes, I
show
remember that
together,
one.
right? Yeah. So when that happened, I just wanted to feel like, okay, this thing is not gonna work. I'm gonna probably struggle financially, but I'm not gonna worry too much about it. I'll just commit this time almost like as a learner. So I'm gonna be just studying more. I'll just work on my pieces. And actually, one of the paintings I was working on is the unseen embraces too. So, and then thankfully, I got so many more sales. So the reason is a lot of people, because of the COVID, they accumulated money for traveling and visiting their families, whatever, and then everything got canceled. So they find their disposable income money to use for buying paintings. So that was why quite weird, because I had some studio mates in my studio that they were doing way better than usual, and I got to hear from some good like artists friends that they are actually selling more painting. I mean, once again, selling's not the priority, but I felt like because I felt more positivity within the idea of what all this happened,
Mm.
I didn't want to take anything pessimistic, so I felt good about it. I didn't get stressed out. And then somehow I also figure out how to teach students online too with this Zoom, meeting. So everything just like happened to be figured out naturally, but I didn't have to worry too much about it. And then so that was quite interesting experience for me. So that painting is somewhat related to it, right? You should just embrace, just like the idea of love
Yeah.
over fear. Like, oh, I will love every moment that happened, even that's something very negative, apparently. Like, but you can always overcome that by positive thinking.
That's good. So I guess through those experiences, that's kind of what inspired you to create this painting, the
Yeah.
Unseen Embraces painting.
Yeah, that's actually the sort of a core idea of it. And usually artists are painting something that they usually paint, and then I actually get to my color scheme and then painting with two hands independently simultaneously, thinking as a ritual, sort of conflicting myself, not contradicting, but conflict is inevitable and you should accept that. So I'll rather embrace that conflict the way it is, and then I'm gonna just accept it as natural as it can be, and everything turned out to be even more positive.
With the two main colors that you used in this painting, one is it's like a blue turquoise color, and the other is pink. Does that represent the masculine and feminine?
Yes. If you think about the yin yang concept, it actually has a femininity and masculinity and, you know, everything, not from a sexist point of view, but that's how plus and minus, right? And black and white, and, you know, like masculinity, femininity, female and male, right? But then we are one, right?
Mm.
There's always a little bit of light on the dark, and there's always a little bit of dark in the light. So whole idea of it, and then that's why I tend to use that color, and also that color scheme is somehow became my signature sort of a color scheme. So I've been
Mm.
using that color for last probably 2-3 years. Before that, my colors are quite dark. I express darker colors because I wanted to take that dark emotion out from myself. By consuming that, I became much lighter, and I wanted to. But then I thought that was the reason. And then after I realized that just whatever the color that I'm expressing is also who I am, and then it's part of me. So I wanted to like play around with it, and then eventually get to the point where aesthetically works really well with the concept.
Uh, you were mentioning about the how the painting has multiple arms or hands in it. I noticed there's four pairs or 8 arms, eight hands in there. Was there a reason why you chose that number, or was it just?
It didn't have anything to do with the numbers, but I didn't want it to. It almost gave. I got some feedback that people thought that it was kind of like giving the dark edge, like a funky feeling, right? Because it's like looks like some like random arms approaching from the back. But I think that's something really cool about how people take it as a more fear, right? But then that's why I think I wanted to play around with that aspect, because it's like, as I said, love over fear. So even when you're engaging with this painting, I don't want you to be conscious of how many arms are there, how many people are actually there. You don't take it literally, right? More symbolically, you're just saying it. And then the reason why I wanted to put many arms, very unrealistic situation, almost like surreal, that part, but then is because somewhat that's the fear that we are feeling against the COVID, and then against the future, and against whatever that we're dealing with. And then this whole idea of polarization, and we tend to hate each other, but you know, hate is probably coming from the emotion of fear. So I think even when you look at my painting, I want the viewers to be, oh, I'd rather love than hate. You know, I would rather love seeing 8 or 7 arms approaching from the back randomly. I don't want to take it as a sort of a horror movie, sort of a visual imagery. Yeah.
Okay. Um, when you were painting this painting, did it just flow naturally, or did you come up with, like sometimes when you're painting, you kind of get stuck and then you got to get back to it, or did it just flow easily?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. I actually got initiated from Gustav Klimt, Kiss. Do you know that piece?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So when I was actually thinking of that, when I looked at that was one of my like favorite masters painting, and then I always got fascinated with that. I didn't want to talk about concept of relationship. I rather want to talk about concept of this COVID situation. So I actually use it as a reference, sort of vertically huge, like a figure in the
Mhm.
middle. And yeah, so that's why, that's how I got initiated from that. What was the question? Sorry.
Oh,
Question was,
yeah, my question was, when you're painting this work, was it natural, like in terms of
oh yeah,
did you
sorry,
get
sorry, yeah.
stuck or?
Yeah, so I got initiated by like some I wanted to reference the Gustav Klimt's Kiss, and then so I did actually digital mock-up. I actually showed it to you too, Kevin. Like I did the whole digital. I usually work with I don't usually do that, but sometimes when I wanted to conceptualize my piece a little more with the constructive sort of a procedure, I usually work with bringing a lot of imagery digitally, and then put it onto Photoshop, and then I paint over together. And then, so I did the one, and the one that I did, and then so I had everything sort of prepared, like compositionally, and then colors and everything. I wanted to be somewhat more Gustav Klimt vibe, but it ended up just like covering entirely with my own colors. But yeah, so that was a part of the initiation and motivation.
Are you planning on expanding this into maybe a few more paintings, or is it just going to be the one painting?
I think every painting that I do, every piece that I consider my work is relevant to each other, somewhat related to each other conceptually all the time. And yes, I do actually have a piece that I'm working on that is quite similar to the color scheme. Yeah, so I'm gonna definitely expand the concept and do it more. Usually the way I do is I use a spray paint to do the whole solid background.
Oh,
yeah, I use a one color and another color to start with, and then I just use my spontaneous sort of a random colors that are happen to be there, and then I put it together, mixing up, and then it somehow has to balance out with the background. Yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely going to work more on this concept and color scheme.
that'll be exciting to see what other paintings comes from it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Sure. Just wanted to appreciate Kevan for having me for this exhibition, and always pleasure working with you. And I'm glad that I could have a chance to really talk about my piece, because usually when you work as a painter, I don't want to say especially in Vancouver, but I think what I happen to feel lacking from myself is in terms of how I state my work, because it's really important to talk about what has really been conceptualized. It's not natural process of it. You should always kind of have a deep thought, and then like you have to bring into the depth about your work. And then I think it gave me a really good opportunity. Spontaneity is part of my nature as an artist, but it's also really important to deal with the greater concept with spontaneity. So yeah, I'm really glad that I'll be able to really talk about it in depth. And I think I also wanted to kind of say how the world is right now is polarizing from left to right, female and male and different races. These things are making everyone's life more chaotic, but there is always order in the chaos. And then we human is really good at adapting to this new nature. So I just want to say, just like how the painting is, it's just saying, it speaks for itself. Love over fear, love over everything that sort of constitute the negativity out of you. And that being able to do so is to embrace whatever that's around you. And yeah, the positive energy that you are going across, that's actually something you should stick to. And then by doing so, you should express yourself through art. I mean, I said this a lot of times through this sort of public speaking events, that I want many people, I want other people to engage with this creative process. Painting can be done by anyone. It's not just I mean, of course you want it to be educated, you want it to be learned, but it's being able to understand and appreciate art even more is how you understand your life better. And then that psychological sense that you become more genuine to your emotion, you definitely learn to how to express yourself. And then that's the best way to express yourself: painting, drawing, create, right? The power of creativity. So yeah, that's all I want to say.
Okay. Oh, I did have one last question. So this piece is a mixture of acrylic and oils with spray paint, right?
Yeah.
When you mix the oils with acrylics, how do you find working with that? Like, do you have to
Oh
let's
yeah.
say,
This is totally just the technical side of art. You don't mix with acrylic and oil together. It's a layer by layer. So people sometimes, a lot of people actually question and don't understand how I mix them together. It is I don't mix them together. I work with acrylic and then I let them dry. Right.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
you
thought.
create that one layer and then you paint on top of it with oil, and then just the same as how you do with the spray paint. But there is somewhat vice versa. You can also do acrylic and then let oil dry, let acrylic dry. First, also you can do oil first and let oil dry and put acrylic. But I like the texture of oil better than acrylic. That's why I usually use acrylic as an underpainting. Yeah, for those of you who are new to this art world, if you're watching this video, yeah, I don't mix it. If you mix them, it will probably get all the cracks, and during the course of time, it will, yeah, your painting can go really bad. Even varnishing materials, you have to a little bit watch out. But I found that there's nothing too crazy about, because some people really like worried about if you're putting like acrylic varnishing over oil. But I actually did, and then like I've been keeping that painting for 5-6 years. It's still quite fine. So yeah, so I mean, like, that's one of the things. I don't work very conservatively. Like I understand there needs to be rule, but it's always important to breaking that rule. And then you gotta let yourself make mistakes, and then by making mistake, you become more allowed to be creative, right? So don't get dictated by that. But I don't recommend you to use oil and acrylic together at the same time.
So for this piece, did you do spray paint first and then acrylic
Yeah.
and then oil?
Yeah. If I break down the procedure, I did the spray paint to start with, and then I did acrylic paint to go over. I mean, my spray paint is also oil based. So when you do acrylic paint, it doesn't stay that so long. So you gotta use less water on top of it. Yeah, because more water you put, it's not gonna mix with the oil, the surface.
Yeah.
So it will kind of like, stands out from the surface. So yeah, but as long as you let everything dry, and sometimes it's like you're sometimes, that when you're a kid you paint watercolor on oil like a crayon, right? Then you know what happened, right? Like crayon, the watercolor doesn't go on top of the crayon. The reason is because the crayon is oil based, so you can't see that. But then you can actually play around with that sort of a nature too. And even that procedure is like love over fear, because your fear of making it like spoiled or whatever. But it's okay. Just allow that happen. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for going over your work and all the descriptions.
Yeah, no problem, Kevin. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. All right. I'll catch you later, and this will be posted up throughout social media.
Okay, thank you.
All right. See ya.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye.
Very much.